Hi, welcome to Fridays at 9 with Ben and Mark. This is a series of conversations about social media theory, and this one is going to be about Baudrillard. Okay, so just tell us a bit about who we're going to be talking about today, Mark, please.
We're going to be talking about somebody who's normally characterised as a sociologist, a French one called Jean Baudrillard.
Okay, and I'm right in thinking that he said the Iraq War didn't exist, and he's talking about like the 1990s original.
He's talking about the original version, yeah, that's right. In 1991, he wrote an article called "The Gulf War Did Not Take Place." This was just after the USA had basically kicked the Iraqi forces out of Kuwait, which they invaded. Okay,
all right. So clearly that war happened, people died, bombs were dropped. So what's he actually talking about?
Yeah, that's kind of the difficult thing to get head around. That's the really important thing, because he's not saying that it was a complete lie, nothing actually happens, it was all propaganda. And he's explicit when he says, yeah, people did suffer, people died. He's not denying that happens. What he's saying is that when we use the phrase the Gulf War, what we're referring to is really a media event rather than what actually happens in Kuwait in 1991.
Okay, all right. And so, there's some features in which he kind of points out that makes this a media event.
Yeah, features of that war in particular, which he said that in a lot of ways this was the first war of its type. It's different to any war that's gone on before. So one way of kind of trying to get your head around this is to compare it to the Vietnam War, where certain sections of the media kind of portrayed like the personal, psychological trauma of the war, what that meant for the Vietnamese people,
and that kind of comes from that image where there's the kind of Vietnamese people kind of running away, and you have that naked girl.
Yeah,
it's really kind of traumatic, and actually, doesn't that galvanise the anti-war protests?
Exactly. Yeah. So you're talking about that really iconic image of like the devastation of war, the personal psychological effects, and that's one of the reasons why. That's obviously going to fuel like the anti-Vietnam War feeling in America, and that movement really grew and became a massive, huge movement. Having started out as a very small.
So there's a sense then that the Iraq War kind of doesn't do that, and that the kind of American government and armed forces have learned from the war reporting.
Yes. So Baudrillard's point is that the kind of American government and military are kind of trying to learn lessons from this and want to construct a kind of more managed. Experience of the war for the American people.
And they do that by showing different images, and the kind of recurrent images for me about that war is the image of Saddam Hussein. So we kind of focus on one tyrant, that's everybody against this one person
so that gives us like a sense of what the purpose of the war is and a clear, understandable enemy.
And also, do you want to say something about the kind of the live kind of footage, because it's the first time that war was reported on live, right, from the front line?
That's right, really important feature of the war, massively central to what Baudrillard was talking about. It's the first time you ever got not just footage of what's going on the front line, but you got it live. So as it was happening, it was being broadcast.
All right, listen to this, Jamie. These are shots being fired now in Baghdad. I want our viewers to listen in.
So for Baudrillard, what's important about this is that we're used to having like media events on the one hand, like the world of television, and on the other hand, you've got the real, wars and news events going on. But his point is this is the first time they come together, that there's actually no separation between the media event and what's actually happening.
John and Peter, we're going to the White House for just a minute. Presidential spokesman Marlon Fitzwater is about to address the nation and therefore the world. He's preparing now to appear at the White House press room, and we're there for him. And we'll be right back to you as soon as we can. You can see the reporters gathered, some prepared to go live. And Marlon Fitzwater is about to come in and make history with his announcement. We've already heard the reports from Baghdad. Here's Marlon Fitzwater.
I have a statement by the President of the United States. The liberation of Kuwait has begun. In conjunction with the forces of our coalition partners, the United States has moved under the code name Operation Desert Storm to enforce the mandates of the United Nations Security Council. As of 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Operation Desert Storm forces were engaging targets in Kuwait and Iraq. President Bush will address the nation at 9 o'clock p.m. tonight from the Oval Office. I'll try to get you more as soon as we can. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I think what's like in terms of, like you were just talking about the images we associate that with the Gulf War. So one is Saddam Hussein as the like evil dictator that the war's directed against. The other is, so what do we actually see of the fighting? So whereas with Vietnam you get these images of like really traumatic things, what you really see, the only thing that we saw, and I don't know how much you remember this, but I remember I guess it was like 12, 13 at the time, seeing on the news images of aerial bombings from the point of view of, I guess, the person manning like the computerized bombing system, where you just see like radar image.
It's like a black and white image.
Yeah.
Or a green.
I think green. Yeah, it's like a computer screen image, and like 2 miles below the airplane, you can see a building. You see the shot for a couple of seconds, and after 2 seconds, you get this puff of white smoke. The building in a very precise or like clean way.
It's quite a desensitising thing. You don't really concept. You don't think that there's a kind of family and a building that's been.
Exactly.
You just see it as a.
So what you feel as if you're watching that is here's a precise military operation. The military knows exactly what it's doing. There's you don't get any access to any like psychological trauma.
There's a lack of emotion in that image, I guess. Okay, so I guess what he's talking about then, this key word with Baudrillard is that things are hyper-real. Here's this kind of key term about hyper-reality, that things have become far more than the actual existence of that war, this media-constructed event. Okay, that seems to sit well with me as an idea, but there's a particular reason for that, so I just wondered if you could talk about why people might criticise that.
Yeah, so it's important to know with Baudrillard's theory and also postmodernism in general that you get some people that say this is really profound theory, which really tells us a lot about how we're living now. You get other people that are really hostile to it, saying they really reject it and it's an exaggeration and it's a real kind of manipulation, it's not a valid theory.
Okay.
So for Baudrillard, you can see how this theory that the media is kind of constructing manipulation sits really well with a kind of left-wing critique, sits well with a Marxist point of view that the media is there to manipulate, control the population. So for that reason, some people agree with it, and also for that reason, some people are kind of very hostile to it, say, well, it's an exaggeration, we still do have access to what's really going on, and he's just kind of exaggerating things for political reasons.
All right. Well, thanks for that, Mark. So this has been the end of the first Fridays at 9 with Ben and Mark. So all that's left is to say goodbye. So it's goodbye from me.
It's also goodbye from me.